Hey gang, East Coast Lumberjack here, and today we're going to start splitting out some hickory. Now, I normally wait a little bit until I started doing it when the weather's nicer, but as you know, I'm running out of hickory wood here at East Coast Lumberjack. I've only got about 80 to 100 blanks of hickory left. I got a bunch more smaller stuff, for like a sledgehammer handle and stuff like that, but for large axe handles that have a lot of sweep to them, you need that 4 inches wide, and I'm running out of that. And of course, this stuff has to dry for a year. So, I got to get it split, and I got to get it drying. So my plan is to put it in here. Okay, this is where I normally store my firewood. And if you look here, I've got some nice pallets that'll keep the wood up off the ground and allow the air to flow around it. So it should dry quicker. But you don't want it to dry too quick because hickory is such a tough wood, it'll actually split and check on you. So we don't want that to happen. So what I have for today's project, you're going to need a measuring tape because it'll help you a little bit figuring out what you're going to do to your logs. And then I've also got a couple of big mauls. So I've got an 8-pound maul, and I've got a 5-pound maul. I've got just an old Fiskars. Now, don't you guys get all wound up. Plastic handle on a Fiskars. But anyways, I have it here. I won that axe. Actually, is the only reason I have it. And then you want a bunch of metal wedges. Okay, so I've got a few metal wedges like this. They have decently sharp edges on them, so they'll stick. And I've ground off all the mushroom, because as you use these things over and over again, they're going to mushroom on you. Okay, so I usually have to every now and then clean those up a little bit. So if you watched the video from a week or so ago, you'll see that we got some logs out in Quebec, and they're here, and they're all numbered, and I actually have where they originated. So we're going to uncover these short ones here. I'm going to cut these ones first and split one out. I've also got an ash log here, so depending on how our battery lasts, I want to try to show you some of the differences. Alright, so this is my first pile of logs here. It's been covered up from the snow with a tarp. So, I want to bring you over to take a look at this because I've got some different kind of bark. All right. So these are my 3 logs right here. Try to get out of the sun a little bit. So here's the logs, and this first one here is an ugly log. Okay, if you look at it, you can see there's a gnarl here. There's a few gnarls on it. I knew it was going to be a problematic log, but it was on the smaller end, and it's either pig nut or bitter nut. Then I've got this next one here. It's got quite smooth bark, and I'm pretty sure with the large, you can see it's got a lot of heartwood. This is likely a pecan hickory. This is typically what I see for pecan hickory. And then I've got this one here. This here is another pig nut, and it's the one that had the big butt swell on it. So I'm going to show you how we process these. I think most of these are 6 foot long, and I'm going to tell you because I can. I've got the other 3 ends that we cut off them over here. So I'm going to get those numbers and tell you where each of these logs is from. And then I'm going to try to cut a couple and split a couple out for you so you can watch it. So this is processing hickory logs 101. So I'll set you back in here so you're out of the wind a little bit back here. And you can see what's happening with my logs. So first ugly one here 6.5 feet. And we have 7, almost 7.5 feet. And the last one here, 7 feet. Okay, so we're 6.5 to 7 feet. I've got a big butt swell here, not so much there, but I will cut that butt swell off, the most dramatic part of it. Just to neaten it up so it'll actually stand up when I'm splitting it. So let's we'll start with this one here. Now the other thing, I'll be using my steel 660, and I know from doing this a lot that my steel 660 with a 20-inch bar right here, it's 37 inches from tip to back, okay? So my bar here is a 20-inch bar, and I've got another 17 inches. So it's 37 inches, which of course is great because I make most of my handles 28 to 34 inches long. So if I go to a 37-inch log, and I can measure that right with my chainsaw bar, or the whole chainsaw, then when I cut that off, I know how long it is. Okay, so I'm always going to start from the bigger end and come down, and then actually I can include that butt flare in some of my bigger handles if we're going to make them over 40 inches. So I'm just going to cut a couple of those out, and then we can start splitting. So that's it for the saw. I hit the ground. And I want to tell you something. It doesn't take much to dull a saw. A lot of people that run chainsaws don't realize you just have to touch the ground for a second, and you're going to take the tips off your teeth, and your saw doesn't cut good anymore. And this cat here does not like cutting with a dull saw. I'm just going to set that to the side. I wanted to make sure the block was cut off first, so we've got that done. So now the next thing I can do is manhandle that into here, into this little lean. And I'm going to do that with 2 logs, okay? I'm going to bring in a hickory log, and I'm going to bring in that ash out there. So the next thing I need is something to stand them on. So I've got these here, which are old floor mats out of a car. That'll work as good as anything. This is my ash log. Now the first thing you'll notice is I throw the ash log around a whole lot easier than I'm going to throw around this hickory log. So the other tool you need is a nice peavy. you don't have to necessarily be tougher. You just got to think more. All right. Okay. There. So now the next thing I want to know is where this log came from. So I'm going to find the top of it. That's that one. So, there's two ways I know what this log is. First of all, when I look at the bark of the different barks I have in those three logs, this here is the coarsest bark. Okay, so it's got the biggest V's. It's the coarsest bark. And the other thing is, if you look at the end of it, see this little anomaly right here, a little T-shaped anomaly. Well, that's also in the other end of the log, okay? So I know what the number of that is now. So I'm going to look it up and tell you where this one came from. So that log there came from Connecticut. W-I-N-D-H-A, Wyandotte, Connecticut. So, of course, you know me. I like details. So this is a Connecticut log, and I'm not sure exactly where it came from in there, but we're gonna try splitting it out. So there's already a natural crack starting in it right here. So I'm gonna use that to my advantage. And of course, when it's cold, it splits really good. So now what I do is I'll go around the outside of the log and make a mark every 4 inches, or basically the size of a handle bolt. And we'll see what we can get. Here's another one, and another one, and another one. Okay, so we have, pretty sure this is around a 12 or 13 inch log. Okay, 14 inch. So the top of this 14 inch, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 8 handles, potentially, out of this log, which is good. That's what we'd like, if all goes well. So you can see here how I've got it all marked where my axe is pounded in that the wedge. Now you see how tight this grain is, and you can see all the hardwood. This is ash. So let's look at this ash. Okay, it's a lot whiter wood. The growth rings in this one here, I took this ash because it's got nice growth rings in it. They're not too big, but they're about a little over 1/8 of an inch each one. So there's good looking stuff in that. So I'm going to do the same thing with this ash right after we do the hickory. So let's get the hickory started, and I'll take a couple bolts out of it, and we'll see if it's going to split nice and straight for us. All right. So yeah, when it's cold, that one's hit, it's split right across the middle of the log, so you can hear it already. It's getting hollow sounding, so that means the split is going down through the log. So there. And once you get one in, it usually splits pretty straight. What this one is, right down through to the bottom. Nice. That's a good sign. Pretty straight and pretty clean right to the bottom. So now let's take let's take our next handle piece off of here. Be right there. And this cold, this hickory's splitting pretty sweet. Just like that. And that one there is almost off. So let's just keep going around this end. So you hear that big ting, that means she split right to the bottom. So is this one. So let's do this side. And then we can haul this piece right out of there. Beat her apart here just a little bit. There we go. So there's a little bit of stringy wood holding it just in the middle. So we're going to beat that off. So there we go. So this is our pie-shaped piece I always talk about. You can see there's a lot of hardwood on this one. The smell is beautiful. It smells just like hickory. Now we're going to try to, and remember, you want the same amount of wood on the outside as on the inside to get that split to go right straight down. If you've got more wood on the inside, you got to take a bit of that triangle off first. But this isn't a big log. The triangle piece isn't that big, so when I come in here, my 2 inches, right there, look at that. That split is going right straight down, ka-ping. Now, that is exactly what you're after. Look at that. Just as the grain is straight as a die, it's split just as clean as a whistle. That is a beautiful handle bolt, which is exactly what we want. So thank you, Connecticut. Now this piece here, it's all heartwood. And what I could do, and what I usually do, that's why, do. Get a grip, Cumberland. It's a family-friendly video. Anyhow, I usually take off another piece of this. Like that. So, when I say I'm out of handlewood, I am, except for stuff like this. So this is the next piece in. It's about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches one way by almost 2 inches this way. So I might be able to get a double bitter out of this. And I can definitely get a small Hetherington out of this. So I'll keep both of those because it's nice wood. It's nice and straight. And this piece here goes into my waste pile on the other side here. And this stuff I cut up and use for hickory smoking blocks. Because that heartwood has got it's got more lignins and tannins in it. That's what causes the dark color. And it causes the smell of the hickory is a lot stronger. So it's really great for smoking. So that's how slick that went. Now I want to split out an ash while we're right at it, so we can see the difference. So the ash has been cut. They've probably been cut the same length of time, probably a month or two. And there's a couple of big checks in this one. So I'm going to start there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to be able to get almost the same amount out. 6. That last one's a little on the small side. 7, 8. Okay, so this one here, this ash, is 14 one way, but it's only 13 the other. So they're almost identical in size. So we'll do the same thing again. There. So she's, one here, funny for an ash, is acting tougher than hickory. It's holding on a little bit tighter. There we go. I was going to say, usually ash comes apart every bit as nice, or if not nicer than hickory wood. So let's take this next first ash piece right here, just like we did off the hickory log. There. Ka-ding, right to the bottom. So, this is the hickory pie, the ash pie. Okay, so there's a pie shape. You can see a lot lighter wood. We only have heartwood here. You also can see there's a knot here. Now this is a really good example of knots. So here's where the limb was on the tree, and you can see the wood growing here. It's bulging around it here initially, and then once it gets about 10 years in right here, then it's nice and straight again. Okay, so that knot, it's a small knot. It was on the tree when it was young. And when you get your trees that are 12 to 14 inches in size, that stuff isn't going to bother you. So let's split off a handle bolt off of this one and see what it looks like. Almost identical in size. Okay, so it's traveling across the grain there. This side's pretty good. So I'm going to flip it over because it's the split's starting to run across the grain. So I'm going to try it from this end. Try to get around that. There we go. Okay, so we did save it. So not quite as nice. So there's a couple of things. Now it's funny, I thought this ash wood was nice wood, and it isn't bad. However, when you look down this, you can see there's a little roll in it. So okay, it's got spiral bark on the outside. So the bark is just traveling this way on the outside. Now it's pretty darn hard to see when you look down those diamonds, but you can see it when you flop it over this way. Okay, so we did get that piece out. It's not bad wood for ash, but it's not nearly as straight and as clean as this other hickory. So this ash came from Kelly's right in Fredericton, and it's going to be decent wood. It's not beautiful, phenomenal, but it's decent. The hickory right now looks like it's going to split out gorgeous. So that first piece I took off, I've got a large piece for axe handles and a smaller piece for either hammer handles or a sledgehammer handle, or potentially even a double bitter. So the next thing I want to do, because both of these logs were cut in the winter, I'm going to go inside and grab my moisture meter, and I'm going to let you know where we're at for moisture on this, because that makes a big difference as far as how long it's going to take us to dry it out. So I got my moisture meter, and I'm going to check the moisture content in this hickory, and it's 26% in the ash, 16% in the end, which is pretty good. Yeah, but it's 22% in the middle. So actually, that's better than I thought. So thank heavens, I'm right around 26 to 28% moisture in the ash. Looks like it's around 21, 22%. So we've only got to drop 10%. But having said that, it takes a little bit of time to do that. So again, splitting it full length, keeping it up off the ground, and getting lots of airflow around the outside of the bolt is key. So I'm going to stack it down here at the end. I'll split it a bunch more, and then we'll come back and look at how I'm stacking it in the finished product here. Okay, so I went through all the splitting for that the first log. I split out the second one, went pretty slick, and I'll show you some of the other ones in the weeks to come. So I've got, it looks like 3 or 4, actually I've got almost 5 different species, because we split out ash today and the what I think was bitternut, and next week we'll do the tough one, the pig nut, and also look at yellow birch, which is kind of cool. I got some yellow birch too, and then we'll get into the shagbark. So I've done all that, and I'll put them together. Otherwise they're going to be long. They're long videos, but just so you can see how easy they go, and how it splits out, and how it compares. So I've got a couple of eastern species. We've just seen the white ash, and it went pretty good. But I've also got yellow birch coming, and shagbark, and then the rough big nut. Anyways, thanks a lot for tuning in. Come back next week. We'll show you some more.